What's up? Lumiere Log 14 coming at you. My name's Joshua Kirk. As always, Tim Williams is next to me, and we thought today we'd try a different format. We're behind a desk. We wanted to take more of a podcast natural approach and just have a conversation. A big struggle with these logs is keeping up with all the editing that goes into them. If you don't have any experience in video editing or video production, you'll think that these logs are pretty easy to create, but it does actually take a lot of time to set the lighting up, set the microphones up, and then in post put it all together. And so what we want to do is have an easier way of approaching the logs so that we can get them out more consistently, and by doing that we're making them more long form, so when we come into post-production we don't have to spend ages editing them. So you're going to get it in the raw form. We're not going to cut any of this out, we're just going to have a conversation. In the future we hope to transition these into more of a podcast feel. We'll get some better microphones and transition into the audio space, which will be cool. But for now, this is us, Lumiere Log 14, a new format, and would love to hear your thoughts on this new format. So grab a coffee, grab some popcorn, settle in, because you're in for a long ride. First on our list, Tim.
Well, before we dive into the list, I think it's probably important to note that we've heard a statement the last couple of weeks from a client who's actually really challenged us on the way that we're actually presenting these logs, and it was creativity is a killer of productivity. And it's something that we as creatives strive to present something that is actually awesome and is so good to watch and is entertaining. However, it is actually for us the thing that is the killer of our productivity, because it's a slow process, so we're just trying to speed things up and actually get content out. And these logs are just a diary entry of what is going on in the day-to-day business of Lumiere to help you guys come along on the journey with us.
Mm-hmm. That client is Carl Richards, which we're going to talk a bit more about coming up. Stay tuned for that.
So, you may or may not have seen this old girl.
New girl.
Well, new girl. Hey girl. Not that new girl.
What are you talking about?
So we have here a brand new 15-inch MacBook Pro. As you would have noticed from, if you watched the last log, that I was sporting a old girl, a 2011 MacBook Pro 15-inch that had seen me out and been pretty good to me. It's I'd upgraded all the components, and then Apple decided to shut me out with the updates. It was starting to slow down and starting to be a bit of a bottleneck, so it was time to actually invest in a new computer. Through a long and lengthy process of investigating whether PC was for me or not, I landed back on Mac, and here we are, right in front of us.
What made you go with the Mac? Because I know you were thinking about jumping to PC for a while.
For me, I wanted the ability to work from home, work remotely, work on site, obviously being able to tether.
And you can only work at home on a Mac.
I can, yeah. All my internet is only connected for Mac.
Is that part of the Mac ecosystem?
It's not at all. No, so I wanted something that I could work remotely, take on the road with me.
No, let's back it up. Why did you need to buy a Mac for that? There are way better PC options out there.
Well, I was getting there, but you interrupted me. So we looked at the PC laptop options, and after some research, I actually was only saving about $400, which in the grand scheme of things, I would have been sacrificing aesthetics. I would have had a big chunky gaming PC thing, which for some people is great. For me, I liked the sleek, thin, beautifully ergonomically designed machine that we have here in front of us. And I get to stay within the Mac ecosystem, which once you're in the ecosystem, it's actually a pretty cool ecosystem to be a part of when everything works.
Mm-hmm. That's awesome. Shall we read off some of the specs real quick?
Yeah.
So a 1 gigahertz Intel i3 processor, 2 gigabytes of DDR1 RAM.
Mm-hmm. This is all the top spec stuff.
It doesn't have a graphics card.
No, this is just paint.
Nice.
Yeah.
So you got a pretty sweet machine here.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So it's going to help us do a bit more work at home.
At home, yeah.
Okay, so late cruising into the office, just chilling.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
Now, so what we've got here is I actually plugged this bad boy into, I now have to plug into a Thunderbolt dock so that I can run my Thunderbolt display and all my peripherals from that. So I have a Thunderbolt connector. I needed to be able to, it doesn't work with the mini display port, so I had to go Thunderbolt 2 to Thunderbolt 3 connection to connect into here to my Thunderbolt display, and then I have a USB-C dock that comes out which has 2 USB-C ports and 2 USB 3.
Okay, moving on. We're going to move away from this conversation, Tim.
Man, this is going to be a long log. Lumiere long log 14.
Yep. As always on the log, what we want to do is document the journey of the company. So obviously talking about gear is one thing, but behind the gear is a company that's sort of morphing into a new beast, a beast that we didn't necessarily think it would turn into. So in each log, we wanted to talk about segments of work that we do for clients. And one client that you've already heard about is Carl Richards. He's just an awesome financial mind, is he?
Yeah, he's a bit of a guru in that space.
He's got some amazing things to say. He was the guy that said the quote, "Creativity is a killer of productivity." We definitely are trying to take that on board, obviously not being super creative with this log. But what we did do for him was shoot a couple of whiteboard sessions. So we went into his little space and essentially it was just a room. And so he wanted us to come in and sort of collaborate with him and try and figure out a way to light and film his whiteboard presentations in the room. And there were a couple of challenges that we came across and had to kind of think on our feet. One was the room was just basically a box. There was nothing on the walls, nothing on the floor. It was just a hard floor and a hard ceiling, and you could snap your fingers and you'd still hear it 4 seconds later, just the reverb in that place.
No natural light.
Was, unbearable, no natural light. And he did have 4 soft boxes in the room that he brought off Amazon, I think. It was just a cheap package deal. And so we went in, used his existing lights, and it took us a while to really figure out how to light the whiteboard in a way where there was no shadows, but also no reflections from the light, it proved a bit difficult. Eventually what we ended up doing was taking the softbox and taking the diffuser off it and just shining them directly up into the roof, and then off to the side, and using the natural walls that were there as big soft boxes essentially. So nice soft light in the room. The downfall with that was that there wasn't a lot of power coming out of the lights. So we had to crank the ISO up a little bit higher on the camera and do a bit of noise reduction in post. That was just the first session. The next session we'll probably go in and take a few more lights and really light that thing. But we're super happy with the results. On the audio front, he actually had a bunch of grids, some foam grids. So we threw them all over the roof, around the sides, and just deadened that sound. It wasn't ideal, but yeah, we got there.
It worked.
It was a super fun job. And it's another job we're going to talk about is Aura King, I think.
So Aura King, you may have heard us talk about in previous logs. We spent 3 days filming and photographing their awards, annual awards for 2018. So they flew in a bunch of their top chefs from all over the world and hosted them here in sunny Nelson. So they showcase the region, plus they also take them around to their salmon farms and actually showcase where the Aura King salmon, New Zealand King salmon, is actually farmed and where it's all sourced from. So we had a big 3 days. The first day started with a hangi out in the Mutiri Valley, which was called...
You said that really well. Mutiri.
So that was a really awesome event. They had a pōwhiri and welcomed all their guests onto the property, and it was just a festive occasion where everyone was celebrating and having a great time. They had an open hangi where they cooked up some salmon. And had some celebrity guests. And
how was the salmon?
The salmon was absolutely on point. That was from other reviews because I actually don't eat salmon. So from there, that was day 1. Day 2, they had the awards night at the Suta Theatre held in Nelson. So they actually announced the award winners from their the entries, I guess. And so that was another late night. Then the next day, day 3, we were up early on the road to Picton, where we did a cruise out to the salmon farm. and checked out the salmon farm, and then we had a beautiful cruise on the Sounds where we were just hanging out with all the chefs, eating delicious food, checking out the beautiful scenery of the Marlborough Sounds.
Super good. So massive job, 3 days.
Big 3 days.
What were some challenges with that job?
It was easy. Now, some challenges were location. We were getting video content of chefs talking to the camera, so we had to be extremely mobile with audio gear, lighting. We needed to make sure that it was in a beautiful spot, but also making sure that we were getting clean audio and that there wasn't too much ambient noise. So there were some challenges that we had, but we were able to do pretty well. Joshua Clark, our assistant, definitely dominated in the assistant role and dominated in the audio space. So helped us get some nice clean audio. One thing that another challenge we did have was this guy here became a dad, and well, actually, during that job, he was prepping to become a dad, and Sophie was very much due. So we actually set ourselves up in a way that freed Josh from doing any of the production, and we actually had we outsourced to another videographer, local videographer, to do all the shooting, and set Josh up just to do some post. So that was one challenge we had, just being able to make sure that that was a robust setup, and I think we managed it pretty good. We got some pretty good content from it.
Yeah, super happy. Think the client's happy?
Yeah, been all good reports so far.
That probably leads on to another segment that we want to talk about, which is the internal workings of the business. And one thought that we've been throwing around is our capacity currently and where we want to head in 2, 3, 6 months' time. And we feel like as Lumiere, currently as it sits with Tim, myself, Josh Clark, an assistant, we're pretty much at capacity with the work that we're doing. And it's always a fine line between growing and also doing due diligence with the jobs that we have and looking after the clients that we do have, because we don't want to take on too much work and let a lot of little things slip through the cracks. We want to give our clients the best service possible, best quality content and best service. And so we're always riding that line.
Very much so. So we want to be going to the Bahamas for a holiday.
Yes, riding the line without working our butts off and dying of workaholic exhaustion. Yeah,
so some of the conversations we've been having as of late, we feel that we could definitely be better serving our customers in terms of the customer service experience, and the only way we can do that is obviously to bring on more hands, more footwork, and so we're expanding. We've got another intern joining us. She is going to be working in the design space, where she's going to be creating digital content through graphic design, web design, but also helping out with creating social content as well, which we're real excited about. And we're also looking at bringing on someone to do the social media management, because that's just such a big part of what we're doing. And it was just consuming so much of my time, and we just can't grow.
So babe, should we back up and talk about...
Did you just call me babe?
I said, shall we?
I thought you said, so babe, shall we just...
I can call you babe if you want.
No, thanks. Yeah. Carry on, back it up.
Shall we back up and talk about our current workload? So obviously Tim and I started Lumiere, and that means there's no one else to do anything else for us. And so essentially what we are is we're the creatives producing the content, but we're also trying to manage workflow systems, business culture, accounts, doing a lot of financial stuff in the background.
Which is definitely not my forte.
Obviously working with an accountant though, because everything's above board.
Exactly.
So yeah, lots of hats, and Tim particularly has been wearing a lot of hats with the social media distribution side of things, managing a few website builds, a lot going on. And so putting on all those hats all the time actually takes a lot of time to transition between each state of mind. And it's hard to kind of get the creative juices flying in all areas effectively. And essentially we want to delegate, we want to set up professionals in particular areas in their strengths, so that we can just have capacity to do creative jobs when we're doing that, but also just have capacity to grow and run an ever expanding team. Tim just wrote state of flow into Google.
So one thing Josh talked about is the changing of lanes and wearing different hats. So for me, it's whenever I change hats, it probably takes me a good 10-15 minutes before I'm really moving and I'm in that lane. So we want to be able to delegate and find people who can stay in their lane and just literally run in that lane all day, so that it's more productive, we're more efficient, and we're able to give a better customer service experience.
So what is flow? Talk about that.
Well, flow is a psychological term and defined by the extremely credible source of Wikipedia. In the positive psychology, flow, also known colloquially as being in the zone, is the mental state of operation in which a person performing an activity is fully immersed in a feeling of energized, focused, full involvement and enjoyment in the process of the activity. So there's, I've heard that when you're in a state of flow, you're actually something like 400% more productive than if you're not in the state of flow.
Wow.
So if you want to get stuff done, get in the flow zone.
Yeah. So to summarize that, you might spend 10 minutes on emails and then change hats, and then spend 10 minutes posting some content for a client, change hats again, have a meeting, maybe it's about company culture, change hats again, roll down the road, have another meeting, change hats, come back, try and edit some photos, and your whole day is just broken up into these tiny segments, and you never actually get into that productive state.
No.
And so our company is trying to transition into building a culture where the state of flow can be maximized. So maybe we haven't actually discovered the best way forward with that, but some random thoughts would be to have a dedicated, say, 2-hour block per day where no one talks to anybody, everyone just chucks on headphones and really focuses in on their activity. I find when I'm here in the mornings or after work when no one's here, I get more done in that hour than I do for the rest of the day.
Absolutely.
Yeah, maybe I should just work by myself forever. No?
So, well,
Yes,
maybe.
you're agreeing.
Yeah, get out. One thing that we're throwing around is actually creating what they do with the radio on air sort of light bulbs, is actually having a light bulb in the office. So between the time of 11 and 1 or something, that light goes on, so anyone comes in or who is working in here can see if that light bulb is on. It's a no talk zone, it's a flow zone, we're all in our zone, and then outside of that light being on, when it's off, we can chat, we can have meetings, we can collaborate and go from there.
One quick thought, Carl Richards mentioned that 90 minutes is sort of a cutoff in terms of his mental capacity when he's really thinking about the content that he's presenting. Is that correct?
Yeah, his cognitive capacity is what he called it.
Yeah, and I think that's just awesome, recognizing your own limits and being self-aware enough to know your capacity. For me, I think 2 hours is the sweet spot when I'm editing. So I'll jump into Premiere, open up DaVinci, whatever I'm using, and I'll sort of find myself getting lost in the program, and all of a sudden, if I have the time and I'm not being interrupted, 2 hours is when I start kind of getting a bit fidgety again. That's probably a good time to get up, have a break, and then go back into it later on.
Yeah.
That's a thought of the day. Yeah.
So, saying that, I think we've probably rambled on long enough.
We've lost our flow.
Yeah, we've lost our flow and we need to get back into it. So, that's Lumiere log number 14. This is actually our second take at Lumiere log 14 because the first one was rubbish. So we're trying to get a little bit...
This is rubbish.
Yeah.
You do not want to see the first take.
Hey, so we'd love to hear your comments, any thoughts that you'd love to hear of what's going on in the Lumiere day-to-day runnings. But yeah, check out our socials. We're aiming to get those back up and running to give you a little bit more content. I know I said that in the last 3 logs. But hey, when in Rome.
We're getting there.
Yeah. Hey, so that's Lumiere log number 14. I'm Tim Williams. This is Joshua Kirk.
We will see you next time.
Stay classy.
Peace.